and he will be happy. There's another one that will be very happy being hardworking, but will still want to lay pipe just about every single night. So if anything, I feel like the only way that we can create a proper win for Japan as a people and for Japan as a country is if we just start importing Africans, not as slaves, but
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is a man who likes his women the same exact way he likes his yogurt. He is also a man who may include jumping to conclusions to his cardio routine. It is none other than your tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. And I am here to talk about love because I feel like some of y'all need it, and some of y'all just can't live without it. The only problem is, for some reason, it's like people nowadays just seem to be slapping a bunch of conditions to it. And people can be potential partners, but at this rate, I feel like it's also stretching to governments. Because, we might be having a global population crisis in our hands, but people don't want to, just cross the borders and ask for help from the people that know how to give it good. And unlike governments or bad exes, I do intend on building bridges instead of walls or boundaries. And how do I intend on doing that? You will find out when you listen and you let me cook for most of this episode. Of which, if you are listening, I hope you listen all the way till the end. And should you like the episode, should you not like it, should you want to give a different kind of feedback, or should you want to suggest a potential topic, then don't forget that my DMs are always open. The social media links are always in the description and they rarely ever change. And I would be more than happy to receive your DMs and to handle them accordingly, regardless of the platform. Now, I do have a lady that seems to be serving a bunch of conditional love, which I need to address and root out the bullshit and try and put some sense to it. But before I can do any of that, I first need to handle the government side of this whole love equation that I started with. Now, I did talk about, a love issue that is affecting people, or should I say potential partners, and governments. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because we may have a looming population crisis in the world, but in places like Japan, where it's particularly rampant, the government should probably be considering building more bridges as opposed to walls or boundaries, and, stop limiting people on some things, all right? Because, and I kid you not, this is actually something that recently came out, Japan now officially has more pets than children. Now, this was a story that I found on IG not too long ago, and I am going to read it real quick. So it says, and I quote, Japan now has more pet cats and dogs at 15.9 million than children under 15, which is 13.7 million, a striking marker of the country's deepening demographic crisis. With the rising living costs, long workdays, and rigid gender roles, many couples are delaying or foregoing parenthood altogether. Instead, their spending is shifting towards pets, fueling a 1.9 trillion yen luxury pet market, which is around about 11.9 billion USD. And that includes gourmet meals, spa-style vet care, and even Swarovski-studded strollers. This shift highlights a growing emotional and economic redefinition of family, where pets are increasingly seen as lifelong companions in a society where traditional gender roles are being quietly reimagined. End quote. Okay, now, I'd expect some women to come out and complain and say, the problem is probably the gender roles and men don't treat women all that great there, blah blah. But last I checked, as far as Asian countries go, I feel like Japanese men are some of the most respectful I have ever heard of. And, granted, that could be a bunch of BS, and, I've never really been to Japan, so I really can't say how accurate that information is. But while I can't entirely claim that, that information is true or false, what I can say is, if they just imported a couple of us Africans, this problem would have been solved in round about 10 years. And that's a very, very quick solution for them. Just import 1 million African men and women, allow people to intermarry and intermingle, and I kid you not, we will solve the population crisis, all right? And the reason I'm saying this is, if you look globally, yes, we do have a population problem, but I kid you the hell not. If you look at Africa, Africa's largest population is full of youth. Alright, the largest population demographic is full of youth, and most of these youth do not have access to income, they do not have access to a lot of opportunity that I'm sure particularly developed countries that seem to be having population issues can very easily fix. Now, if you want to import yourself a nice, young, healthy, African man or woman and just keep them at home so that they can do household chores while you go and you do long hours in the office, then I'm sure they wouldn't mind doing that, because there are some lazy Africans. If you want a hard-working one, you can get one of those as well. Because over here, I'm talking about pulling in 1 million Africans, okay? Men and women, and of course, you're gonna have some hard-working ones, you're gonna have some lazy ones, and if anything, like a bunch of them, considering the opportunity at getting access to the good life in a place like Japan, whatever the hell that's supposed to look like, might actually seem like an enticing enough opportunity. Because you think about it, there's a lot of African youth that are always trying to find ways to get out of their respective countries so that they can go and chase better opportunities out there. They want to live a better life, they want to, help their families do a little bit better by trying to send some money back home from some of their gains. Like, Africans are just trying to do better, and a lot of youth do not have access to those opportunities. So here's what the Japanese government should do, alright? And this is like my personal suggestion. You import a bunch of Africans, you make sure that they're not charged any tax, you make sure that they have good access to healthcare, and you tell them that for every child they produce, they will receive $5,000. Kid you the hell not. That country in, hell, I was thinking 10 years, but maybe even 5, will have its population crisis resolved. And that is a promise. We will resolve that issue very, very quickly, because as Africans, we are fertile. And as Africans, we like to lay pipe, all right? And provided that you have at least one bum there who, knows that the moment he produces a kid, he's getting $5,000, like, dude will be motivated to lay some of the best pipe in his life. So provided that this guy has a roof over his head, so he could be living with his partner, and he doesn't mind being a house husband because he doesn't really want to put in work like that. Like, this guy will not care if he just has to do the dishes, maybe wash a couple of clothes, of which he probably won't, because a lot of Japan's tech is so far forward that they probably don't even know how to hand wash clothes anymore. So, like, dude will basically just have to be a good house husband and he will be happy. There's another one that will be very happy being hardworking, but will still want to lay pipe just about every single night. So if anything, I feel like the only way that we can create a proper win for Japan as a people and for Japan as a country is if you just start importing Africans, not as slaves, but for child rearing opportunities, reproductive science subjects and shit, just random ways that you can find an instance to import a couple of Africans so that they can start reviving the Japanese economy by reproducing some of the most hardworking kids they will have ever seen. Also, this is probably on a lighter note, but whenever these two races usually mix up, some of the finest kids usually come out of that. Have you ever seen a racial mix of black and Asian and how fine those people are? Goodness my! Like, I know Africans are beautiful as hell, but god damn, that is diversity for you right there. But all in all, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Japan just, probably doesn't know what incentives to give Africans so we can start traveling there. Of which, if you are from the Japanese government and you are listening to this, let me just put it like this. We like them big, we like them round, and we like them curvy. All right. If you can manage that for us, we've got the rest. We will leave the babies in there. But anyways, with all that said, I'm going to leave it at that and move it on to our main topic of this episode. And unlike previous times where I will usually give some sort of like a mini explanation before I play a clip, I'm just gonna play a clip right now before I can, just give a bit of a breakdown. So without further ado,
kitu ya kwanza nimeona mmejaa na breathe na mapua kama dragons. Ati sasa juu mimi mwenye si sister yako, mamako, auntie yako, bibi yako, manzi yako, nilisema sitapika wala sitafua, na shangaa na haujanioa, je inakuhusu aje? But since we have to talk about it, let's talk about it. So mmesema kupika na kufua ndio zile sa quality sasa important sana ikifika ni kwa wife material. But these same qualities are the ones that can be outsourced for as low as 300 shillings and 20 shillings. 300 kufua, 20 bob ni chapati. Sasa mnataka mimi niekele standard zangu na 320. God for did. On top of that, mjue wazungu wako wamekiuka akili wakienda kutengeneza washing machine na dishwasher, lakini juu African setting kuna slavery mentality and we've been imposed to it and we are slaves to it. Mtu anakuja anakutani into a housemaid na wewe falo unasema hiyo ndio mapenzi, hiyo ndio submissiveness, osho ndio goroki. Na ukiuke kutoka kwa hiyo upuzi, we pray for you in Jesus name. Amen.
Okay, so the lady you just listened to is a lady who goes by the name of Diana Kimani, who on TikTok is referred to by the handle Umbwa Nation. And, she does have quite the following. And she was actually saying all of this in response to a clip that was taken of her from an interview that she did with a certain comedian known as Obina on his show, where he was busy asking her about whether she believes that she is wife material and what makes her think that she is wife material. Now, I am going to play that clip, then I can get into my thoughts on that, because that is the main meat of the entire thing. So, without further ado...
Do you believe you are wife material?
100.
What makes you wife material?
I will love you, I will take care of you, I will nurture you. I'll do everything, but sitakuwa mama yako wa force. I will not cook for you. I'm not your mommy. I'm not going to just be your mommy. If you want your mommy, go get married to your mommy. I'm not. No.
Korir. We? Umekucha, eh? Nasema kupika utapikia mume wako.
Naweza mpikia if he's acting right. Sometimes things we do.
Oh, he has to earn it.
He has to make you want it.
He has to make you want to cook for him.
There's a type of guy you can date wewe mwenye unajituma tu acha nimpigie hizo nguo pasi kesho ako na job. Then there's the one una date hadi kumpikia indomie unasikia tu ni kazi tu.
Umelimwa ma heartbreak, eh? Umepitia?
Umepangwa kwa nini unakaa kunivunja roho? You start not replying my text. You think I'm going to stay there and beg you? I beg God, I beg you too. I beg you. How they do?
So what's your ideal type of man?
I don't know, just be a real man.
What's a real man? How is a real man like?
For one, be financially stable.
So a real man is financially
emotionally
stable.
Available, mentally correct, well nurtured, I'm not coming to train you or drain myself trying to train you how to be a man. Na hapo ndio mademu wengi wako building. Mina kama msichana wa mjei ukiniangalia hivi. Sitaweza.
So you can't build a man.
No.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to lie. Granted, with whatever it is that she said, although in my opinion, I feel like most of what she was saying was mainly just a clout chase, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like she's basically just repeating the same shit that Cardi B said in WAP, where she was like, I don't cook, I don't clean, but let me tell you how I got this ring. But, maybe that's just me. It's kind of like a faint copying of what she said, but all in all, I don't know. Like, yes, guys did kind of give some backlash on the whole speaking of not cooking or cleaning, and that was what she explained. But I don't even think that's the main issue that we should be paying attention to here. I feel like it's the other things, not necessarily that. And I do intend on getting into why it is that I feel like that's not the major bit, because there's other two issues there that are just sort of staring me in my face, and I feel like those ones are bigger than this one. But you know what? I'm gonna start by addressing what it is that people had, all of this supposed backlash over. The whole not wanting to cook, not wanting to clean. And then she comes out with a video and she's busy trying to speak on how she shouldn't be doing such things because, there's machines that do it. And apparently us Africans, which is probably just short speak for Kenyans, have a quote-unquote slavery mentality. And that's why we want our women to do that. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a slavery mentality per se. Like, honestly, like that's kind of something that I feel like people just like to run into, this whole quote-unquote mentality that's been affecting people for so long. and this is why this and this belief system is like that. Like, I feel like people run to thought speak like that as if it's actually a thing, and that's not entirely the case. Whenever guys sort of ask if a babe can do that, and I'm not saying this for every guy, but I feel like most decent guys, it's not like they're trying to turn their babe into like, some version of like their maid to like cook and clean for them. Okay, granted, yes, it is good when your partner cooks for you. Like, it's actually considered a sign of love, at least in this part of the world. But like, it's not like us guys are looking to treat you like a slave. Like, if anything, it's more of just, if shit hits the fan, if it really comes down to it, if I'm not doing as well, if I can't afford the electricity bills, or if, like the appliances are busted and I can't buy one in hours or in like a day, like, how will you be able to sort things out? Will you cook? Will you clean? Like, those are some of the things that I feel most guys would probably just want to know if their partner can do, because if you don't have the humility to do that, then if things get tough, the likelihood that you will leave, kind of shoots up, because if you get to that point where you feel very uncomfortable doing such a thing, then there's a pretty high likelihood that you're like, I can probably leave and not have to deal with this shit somewhere else, and you kind of just off and like leave the relationship, or just leave me at that point. And we'd like to avoid that. So, the humility to say, I don't mind cooking or cleaning for my man is kind of something that we look for. It's not like we want you to do it all the time. We just want to know if you can, and if you would be open to doing it if shit hit the fan. That's literally it, okay? And with that said, I feel like the whole talk of slavery mentality is just a way to just make it seem as though the problem is guys here, yet it's not. Because if we decided to use that same exact thought speak on women, we would sound like absolutely uncaring, ruthless human beings. Because imagine a guy comes up and is like, women today are lazy and they don't want to grow up. How is it that you're a grown woman and you can't cook, you can't clean for your man, and you could have worked a job and used your own money, but not only are you, just lazy and refusing to be an adult and handle your own bills, but you expect me to do it and you earn a salary? You're even stingy. Like, if I decided to do that, that would just sound like I'm just attacking women for no reason. But when someone says slavery mentality, that's when women are like, yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. Like, just think about it from the guy's side. All right. But anyways, with that said, that was a bit that I think most people were kind of hitting at. But the things that piqued my interest were actually two. And the first one was how she was busy talking about she will love and care for and nurture and be kind to the man that she's going to be with, or that she would want to be with, but she doesn't want to do any cooking or cleaning. And also the fact that, like when she is dating someone, there's guys that, make you want to cook for them, but there's others that even making Indomie for the guy feels like a struggle. And that particular second statement actually reminded me of a debate that I've had with a friend of mine who's also a fellow podcaster. I wouldn't mention names though. And it was this whole discussion of you need to put a woman in her feminine energy for her to do things for you, and how I consider that to be a whole stack of bull. Now, considering that I've had this argument, I've had this debate with a couple of different people for quite a while, it isn't something that I consider to be particularly new, but every single time I hear some woman talking about it, it just kind of irks me a little, because when I think about it, why the hell is it that this sort of love and affection has to be conditional? And I know, there's people that are like, it's not about it being conditional, you just have to put her, in her feminine, or, if you treat her a certain way, she'll be, in her feminine energy and blah, blah. And honestly, like, however it is you're going to try and wrap it, at the end of the day, like whether you wrap it in gold or whether you wrap it in foil, at the end of the day, it's still a condition. I have to put you in this state where you are feeling more feminine so that you will do stuff for me. And that is a problem. I honestly believe like that's a problem. And it kind of goes back to the whole, go date your mother or some shit if you expect them to do blah, blah, and blah for you. Because yes, I know it's not like other women are constantly saying that. But when you think about it, it's not like it was a conditional thing back in the day. All right. Nowadays, I'm hearing people busy talking about, oh, if they don't do this for me, I won't do that for them. And that is one of the biggest problems that we have in the dating market today. That's one of the biggest problems that I see with people today when they're busy talking about people that they want to date and the kind of standards that they'd have or what it is that they would or wouldn't do for a partner. Because when I look at it, for me as a guy, I see it as a massive L, because it's not like what I'm supposed to do as a partner is conditional, all right? It's not like my ability to provide, it's not like my ability to protect is supposed to be given on condition, At any given time, for me, my roles as a guy, or at least a potential boyfriend, a potential partner, a potential husband, are practically set in stone, in that regardless of whether I like it or I don't, whether I am in a good mood or a bad mood, whether I fought with my partner or not, I am supposed to live up to my roles as a partner. And if mine is unconditional, if mine isn't tied to anything and is supposed to be like that the entire time, then why should I not expect the same of my partner? And I'm sure there's a guy over there that's like, oh, you're just complaining because you can't put a baby in a feminine energy. And look, here's the thing. If you look at the detriments to this entire issue, you will actually agree with me, because when you think about it, yes, there's a guy that probably feels like, oh, I've never had to worry about this because I know how to love my women, and, however it is that I treat them, they're usually in the feminine energy, so they treat me a certain way. And I'm like, yes, that sounds great if, you fulfill those conditions at any given point in time. But the thing is, like, when you look at it, yes, that is a positive thing for you, but that's essentially still subjective treatment. And when you look at the whole issue with this sort of conditional love, you receiving subjective treatment isn't the standard, it's the best case scenario that's been happening to you, okay? The moment those rose-colored glasses come off because probably you're messing up in this thing and she doesn't like it, but she's been treating you this way, once the rose-colored glasses just fall off, like once she removes them, and then now suddenly she doesn't feel like she should be treating you a certain way because you're not doing A, B, C, or D for her, my guy, you're automatically on the losing side. And you hear stuff like this all the time where guys complain that, their partner speaks on how they used to treat their exes so well, but when it came to them, suddenly they're not getting great treatment. And when the baby's like, oh, but it's because, oh, if you give it a little bit more time, blah, 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 then this and this will happen. Like, guys are constantly complaining about shit like that. It's kind of like the typical red pill debate that you find guys having, where they're like, why the hell would I spend new car money on a used car with high mileage? Like, you've been giving it to guys this entire time and now suddenly you're with me and you want to take things slow. Like, guys will have that argument all the time, and it'll seem like it doesn't make sense at all, because it doesn't seem to make sense at all. Why is it that I have to fulfill certain conditions and I have to treat you a certain way for you to give it to me like that? Yet, when there's a guy that you're truly into, or you're just super infatuated by, you're going to give him all of those things for free. All right, like, this is my problem with that conditionality. And the best way to fix the issue isn't for men to suddenly figure out which way is supposed to make that woman feel or behave more feminine, because that could take us all of life to try and figure out for just about every woman. It's for women to stop making this entire treatment conditional and to unconditionally treat their man well. You have a partner, you have a boyfriend, treat them great. Do not give a little bit more preferential treatment because you are a little bit more infatuated with this guy versus this guy. Like, treat them the same way across the board. And I kid you the hell not, these benefits aren't even just for guys, they're for women as well, because they cut across the board. Because you think about it, if you treated your partners great and simply asked of them that they do the same to you, and if they didn't, you kicked them out, do you know how much less of a job you'd have as far as managing relationships would be concerned? Because you think about it, there's babes out here that will give their man the absolute best and their man is not giving them shit. And they'll complain, and then eventually they'll keep quiet, but they'll continue treating their man that way. And then at some point they might start, reducing some of the privileges they give him. They might not treat him as well. And then now that descends into some level of chaos. Oh, you don't treat me like this. Why should I treat you like that? But you think about it, that probably 3-year relationship that's had 2.5 years worth of shit being taken by the babe would have been slashed out in 6 months if this babe would have simply treated this guy great, asked for the same. If she doesn't get the same, she complains about it once, twice. If nothing is done, she just checks out. Like, that would have been solved a hell of a lot quicker than for her to sit in a relationship for 3 years and to end up suffering for 2.5 or even 2 of those years. So when I look at it, like, this has benefits not just to the men, but it also has benefits to the women, because you'll have a standard. So all you'll have to ask for is for someone to match up to whatever it is that you're giving, not even exceed. Okay, and if the guy does not match up, then you drop them and you get someone else who should possibly match up. And over time, as the dudes in your life start coming back because they realize that you treated them so great, but the other babes that they wanted didn't treat them the same way, you will realize that there are some men that are willing to change because now they value you, and there are others that probably didn't value you at all, so you're good either way without them. So if anything, it still works in your favor as opposed to working against you. And now, to kind of close things off before I get to the conclusion, there's this other thing of busy talking about how you're going to love and care for and be kind to and nurture your man, but you're saying that you're not going to do a couple of things. Like, how the fuck are you going to show love, care, affection, nurturing, and whatever it is that you claim that you're going to do? Because all you're mentioning are abstract things that relate to our feelings that can't be measured in any particular way. So if you cannot give us an actionable way in which you are going to demonstrate love, care, affection, nurturing, and so on, then all you're doing is speaking a bunch of horseshit. Because even when you think about it in the business sense, if you're trying to ask an investor to invest in you and you're busy saying that, I need more money so that I can do more marketing, I can hire more employees, and I can get better equipment and improve my business, they're going to ask you how you intend on doing all of that. All right, so whether you're going to outsource marketing to an agency, whether you are going to recruit highly skilled people so that they could increase the quality of your output, whether you're going to get better machinery to improve your products, at the end of the day, they need something actionable. So in that same way, I'm also saying you need to give something actionable. You can't just talk about, I'm going to love and care for someone. Like, everyone's gonna do that with the person that they claim to love, all right? And last I checked, you having feelings doesn't really affect me because I'm not your feelings and I don't share the body with you. So you need to show me that you have feelings for me, and how you show me is what's important. And to kind of conclude all of this, what I am going to tell, and this isn't even just to the ladies, this is across the board, no matter how much love you claim to give, if there's nothing actionable to whatever love you claim to have for that person, at the end of the day, all you have is a bunch of talk and that's it. So if you can put something actionable behind that, and if you can show that love in a particularly great way, then maybe at that point you can claim to be a particularly great partner. Although, then again, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe I don't entirely understand what the women go through. Either way, I want your thoughts on it. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at the breaktime_podcast. On Facebook, it is at the breaktime podcast. On X, it is at bagakthed. And on Bluesky, it is at the breaktimepod.bsky.social. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.
But what I believe is that if you put a pastor and a prostitute in one room, one is likely to convert the other.